Hello, my name is Francis Burgula. I'm a lead pastor in a Chinese church here in Irvine, California. It's my privilege to share a few thoughts on the book of Job from a pastor's point of view, because I run into a lot of people who ask me this question, Pastor, how come there is so much pain and suffering, not only in the world, but also in our family? They ask me, how do you explain? And my answer to them is, we are looking at the wrong place. We are thinking an explanation will help us. An answer will help us to solve the problem. What we really need is not an answer. Honestly, what we really need is an experience with the supernatural God who is controlling and running this universe. I've been a pastor here for several years, and a couple, Sonny and Jamie, have been in our lives for the last 13 years. And Sonny was a very successful businessman, a good guy, a religious person, went to church and did all the right things which men are supposed to do. 3 years ago, Sonny met with an unexpected accident. He was actually diagnosed with a brain tumor which ended up being cancerous. Nobody in the church or in his family, even himself, ever expected, because he was one of those guys who really took care of his health too. Even till today, we don't have an answer why that happened. But one thing we can guarantee and look back and say is that through this experience, God's presence, God's peace, and God's power became very personal to their life. Before this thing happened to my friend Sonny, he was a successful, good, moral businessman who was occasionally serving God. But because of this experience, he is a very different person now. Now, Sonny is a servant of God who happens to do business on the sideline. There's a big difference between knowing about God and knowing God. You can know about God by reading books and reading stuff, but knowing God needs that experience. There were many times while he was in the hospital when the doctors said, there is not much we can do about it. This is one of those rare diseases. The medical treatment can't help you. The last option when he was in Taiwan was the doctor said, we can do a lot of stuff, but it doesn't look like it's going to help you. You just have 2 more months to live. Why don't you just go back to America and just spend some time with your family and just enjoy the last couple of months. But with that kind of situation, they came here, and through different incidents that God allowed in his life, God miraculously touched Sonny's life, healed him to the extent that he started becoming stronger and healthier. And now, instead of 2 months passed, 6 months passed, in fact, it's not the medicine that really helped him, it's his relationship with God and God's healing that really healed him, and he is so much more healthier now. God was doing something beautiful in his life and in all of our lives, giving us an experience, not an explanation, giving an experience of how his presence can be with us when we go through difficult times. And by the way, the Bible does promise that when we go through difficult times, we are not going through pain alone. In fact, God is walking with us. In fact, God is carrying us when we go through pain and suffering. We're not alone. We are being carried by his love. The last thing I want to share is anytime unexpected tragedies or pain comes into our life, God is helping you to have a new perspective on life. We all have a different perspective on life. But when painful things happen, unexpected things happen, it's an opportunity for you to step back and reflect as to what is really important in life. But if you look at the book of Job, read the first chapter, it's amazing. He says, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised. Again, Job could have complained, but he chose to reset his perspective. Let me close with a story. A few years ago, I took my children to Knott's Farm. It's a theme park here, and there are some big, scary rides. And then we all sat in the same little cart, and this was one of the scariest rides, which was the highest ride, and it's the fastest one. This entire ride, my kids were so excited. They were enjoying the ride. They were screaming and lifting their hands up, and they were enjoying the ride, whereas I was in the same ride, in the same cart. Throughout this ride, I was very miserable. I was screaming, and why did I even get into this? So I was screaming. And one lesson I learned out of that, at the end of the ride, it was only a 1-minute ride. There were 3 people in the same cart going through the same experience. 2 people enjoying the ride, thrilled about the ride, but one guy was really miserable. I think in our life, we all have the same option. There are many things you can't control, but when things like that happen, do you want to enjoy the ride with God? Or do you want to scream about it and complain about the ride all throughout your journey and live a miserable life? That's a choice for us. The book of Job, in fact, gives us hope. It gives us encouragement, and it gives us the opportunity to celebrate life. Instead of looking at it as a tragedy, we celebrate everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. At the end of the day, He gives, He takes, and His name should be glorified. I hope this story really encourages you, and I hope in your journey you will begin to enjoy the ride instead of screaming throughout your ride. God bless you guys.